What's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the three gunas, which are tamas, rajas, and sattva. And I'm going to be speaking on how these deal with the human energy system, how they deal with life in the science of Ayurveda, or the Eastern Indian perspective of the science of life, looking at the body, healing all things naturally, and working with the energies within us. The three gunas come up. Now, I'm no expert in Ayurveda, so I'll leave that to Ayurveda. But I also want to talk about how these three energies are within us and how we need to work with these three energies. And when we're on the yogic path, the tendency is to tend to want to go upwards into sattva, which is a state of purity. So let me break down the three gunas from the simplest level. We'll start with sattva, and then we'll come down into embodiment. If sattva is that spiritual state, it is that spiritual state of purity, is that state of blissfulness, is that state of contentment, inner peace. It's the state of stillness that you find in meditation. It's that pure state, that undifferentiated state, that unchanging state of purity. When we look at foods and Ayurveda, this is why in the yogic perspective, it was always recommended to follow a plant-based or vegetarian diet, because these sorts of foods such as fruits, raw fruits and certain vegetables, whole grains, lentils, certain pulses, as well as even grass-fed dairy, milk, cheese, butter, all of these have and other foods as well, have a sattvic quality to them. So when you consume these types of food, they tend to bring the energies upwards. They tend to leave your consciousness in a state of purity. But also equally, from the foods we consume, we ourselves can dwell in any of these states. So that's sattva on a simple level, is that state of purity, stillness, contentment, oneness with God. You start to feel those higher emotions of bliss and satisfaction, no matter what the outside world has to say around you. Now, raja is the state of action. This is the state of energy. So in order to achieve anything in the world, we need a certain energy. We need rajas to come through us, to make choices, to have willpower. But this can also lead to desire. This can also lead to being controlled by our desires, an excess of rajas. So this is why we tend in a yogic path, once again, to live in sattva as much as possible. Now, this is also to say that you can't deny any of the threes, because true transcendence is embodiment of all these states. So I just want to make that clear, that there's no better than the other, whereas this is just a roadmap to help us live our life more accordingly to the principles of nature, to the way that we are designed as beings, as human beings in these bodies, and all the spiritual effects, that the things we consume have a spiritual effect on us as well as the energy that we put out. Not just the foods, but I'll get into more of that as we go through the video. So rajas is like the stimulating foods like garlic, onion, cayenne pepper, spices, coffee, tea, cacao, things that stimulate the nervous system in a positive way if you can use that energy. So if you can use the rajas, if you have things to do, rajas is a good energy to have. You just want to balance that with your meditation. You want to balance that with your breathing, your yoga, your pranayama, your mantra, so that you can use that energy, and when you're done, come to that state of stillness again, that state of sattva. Now that's more rajas for you. And then we get into tamas. Tamas is the state of inertia. It's heaviness, dullness, lethargy, slothfulness. It's that energy that when you look at processed foods, when you look at the foods in the standard American diet, as well as what's pushed out in that system, from that system, junk foods, sugary foods, fatty processed oils, unhealthy oils, a lot of cooked red meats, a lot of cooked, empty starches, processed starches, potato chips, you name it, cake, sweets. Now you could make a sattvic raw vegan dessert, just for anyone that thinks, the sweets is the problem. The sugars are sattvic, actually, the natural ones. But it's these processed sugars, these candies and fake cakes and honey buns and whatever else you have. These are all the tamasic foods. These bring you to that state of lethargy, when you don't want to get anything people are bloated after Thanksgiving. We just had that holiday, and we're in the holiday season, so it's good to talk about this. People tend to be very gluttonous in the holiday season, just eating all these things. Oh, it's the holiday, I'll clean up in the new year. And I'm not saying not to enjoy yourself, and I'm also saying that this is Tantra, to understand that we need all of these qualities in certain degrees, and at certain times we may even need to be tamas. Maybe we've been too much rajas, we've been so sattvic and heavenly embodied. We need to come down a little bit into some inertia. So this is why even in the tantras they have certain puja, certain ritual for offering the meat, and also sanctifying that, so when they eat it and they experience that tamas, they're understanding that it's to transcend the limitation of the tamas, but to experience it equal, to experience all parts equally. But I just want to point out how the unhealthy food, the processed food, all of those things that I mentioned before, those tend to be the things that really drain us of our energy, especially on the spiritual path, especially on a Kundalini awakening journey. For myself included, I've been practically plant-based for about 11 years, and I've gone back to eating meats at certain times. I've even gone back to eating processed foods just a little bit. I try to eat organic or non-GMO as much as possible, but I've even eaten some processed foods and things that I wasn't happy of how I felt afterwards. And you can feel that. It's like, well, it was about 7 or 8 years, like, let me try some of this birthday cake then. You're so finessed about it. Let me try it. And it's terrible. To me, it tastes terrible. There's no real flavor to it. I'd rather eat a mango or a pineapple or a melon, cantaloupes or peaches, something beautiful, strawberries. Come on now. Real sweetness. And that's the difference. Once you taste real sweetness, you look at the processed sweetening. You may even try it. Oh, someone made a cake, or someone made some sweets or something, and brownies, and you may give in to that temptation, or that urge, especially in the holiday season. So like, I'm not here to shame anyone or judge anyone if that is your lifestyle, if that is your diet primarily, because you should learn to work with where you're at and transition into higher stages. You can just cut it all off cold turkey and take the leap of faith, as I have done, as I've learned to let go of things easier than others. But for some of these, they're attachments, they're addictions, they're comforts. So understand that level. That is the tamasic level. And once you reach these states of sattva and purity, and you don't need these external pleasures to be happy, you realize how people seek pleasure from the outside world, from the foods they eat, from the indulgence in alcohol and overconsumption of meat. I'm not even against the consumption of meat, because I think healthily raised meats for certain blood types, for certain ancestries, is actually an important part of the diet. It may even be part of mine. I don't know. Personally, I feel the best when I stick to my plant-based diet with a little bit of cheese and eggs. Eggs are another Rajasic food, somewhere in the middle between the two. But personally, that's what's worked for me. And every time I've ever tried what society is offering, what friends and family have offered, I've looked back and go, wow, that really didn't make me feel very good. That really didn't uplift me on my spiritual path, nor did it make me feel more like happy, or whatever dopamine, certain pleasures, that false dopamine, really, because you become addicted to that as your source of dopamine, rather than generating, circulating your positive feeling of dopamine, your reward from within. That's like transmuting the tamas into more of a rajas. It's like, well, if I'm going to have this energy, I want to at least work with it. I want it to be beneficial to others and be beneficial to my life. So that's just interesting. This is alchemy also. That spiritual alchemy, the diet, the foods we consume, all these things go hand in hand with how deep we can get in meditation. You might even notice after you've eaten some of these foods, you sit down for meditation and your mind's just on the monkey, like the monkey with the symbols. Like, it won't stop talking, it won't stop trying to get your attention. When you're in that sattvic state, you notice how easy it is just to come into your heart center, to be present, to fully appreciate. And even if your mind is rajasic or feeling overstimulated, you learn to listen and detach from that and come to your center once again, always coming back to the heart center, as that's the real key in Tantra, is that all things are needed, all of these are needed, and to transcend, to actually be embodied while we are transcending, we must recognize all of these qualities, not as one is good, one is bad, but as necessary for life as a whole. And the more we can balance these, the more we can attune to the state that we want to be in when we want to be in. So now all five senses, not just the food we consume, is very important to look at when we're looking at the three gunas. The type of music you listen to. Nowadays, tamasic music, that could be like the really low frequency bass heavy music, all synthesizers, all synthetic. There's no real human elements. Even the voices have been vocoded and completely computerized to the point of the humanness has been lost from that. You could say that's a pretty tamasic music, and it gets people into their rajas that are in that tamasic state because it's so heavy and fast and moving. So there is a bit of alchemy there, and I'm not saying that genre couldn't be used for positive things, but just realize how low that frequency is, because once it's done, and this is another thing, once the drugs wear off, once the music wears off, most of those people go straight to tamas. They're worn out, they're all out of energy because it's not a sustainable energy. Now, what's rajasic music? We could look at a lot of rap and hip hop. It's very fast paced, very in your face, very, straight and punchy. And that can be real good. Or heavy rock music, hard rock music. But listen to the lyrics. The lyrics are coming from that tamasic state. They're always, they tend to be a very depressive, or rather less true authenticity. Authenticity is like transcendence of all of these things, because authenticity sees the whole as one whole and not separate parts. But I'm giving you guys the roadmap so you can understand how to raise consciousness. If you're in the root chakra, that's like always in tamas. You're in survival. You just want to make sure you're fed. You want to make sure that you feel good for the moment, and then it's over. You know what I mean? So then in rajas, at least we're starting to move. We're starting to move that energy. And then there's, even heavy metal music. Myself being a heavy metal musician back in the day, and really progressive, more so psychedelic even, you could say. And with conscious lyricism is the type of music I strive for, no matter what genre it is. But this is just an idea to understand that the music that we hear can help us through these states. Sometimes you may not be able to be sattvic at all. Sometimes you need the rajas to break through your sattvas and go, oh, I need to get something done. So like I said, and even tamas, you could be so up in there, you just need some real tamasic, something low, to help you bring that energy down, because you've been way too high up. You want to stay embodied, you want to stay centered. So that's what I'm saying here. There's a time and place for everything, but just understand what the world is giving of these qualities tends to be a very distorted rather than holistic way of experiencing these different states. And there's all different other ways we could look at it. Now we say sattvic music, we could say that's worship music. We could say sattvic music is Indian classical, or even Western classical, the instrumentals, the dun, 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 dun. Just like when birds are singing, they're singing a symphony and harmony and working together and listening to the sound of the winds and the waters, and everything is working together in nature to create that symphony. Just come out in nature if you want to hear the symphony, really. Just listening to the birds, that's a very sattvic activity. But then we also provide on our channel various mantra and meditation music, flute instrumentals, guitar instrumentals, vocal instrumentals, intuitive chants, as well as the more traditional japa, mantra chanting meditations with all the frequencies behind it that will really help you embody this sattvic state, especially if you're in more of the rajas all the time and more of that tamas. These will bring you instantly, if you can surrender, if you can bring that energy forward and up. You will see that these types of musics, as well as I'm also a musician, you can check out my channel, just Brett Ziegler, and I have links in the description of the video so you can hop over there. But check out my other music, and we embody all of these qualities while doing our best to remain in that purity, in that state of bhakti, in that state of devotion to God, the state of devotion to the divine in us, the divine in you. So whoever is listening to that, they can feel that divinity, they can embody that energy, and they can come into that more pure state of consciousness. So other types of sattvic music, essentially worship is even Christian worship. Understand that this isn't a religious thing. This isn't bound or whatever religion. You feel it in their devotion to God, whatever religion, whether it's Muslim, whether it's Christian, whether it's Rastafari, whether it's Indian, chanting. You feel that sattvic difference when it's coming from that place of purity. You feel that love and devotion to God in your heart, and it does something inside. It changes. It helps you. It makes you want to live a more pure life, a more, connected to nature, connected to God life. So these are different ways that we can access the states of consciousness, is to understand that there's transcendence of all three. And if we get into the goddess, we could talk about Tripura Sundari, Lalita, Shodashi, one of the forms of the goddess, the triple goddess, that she is the transcendence of all forms, of all states of being, or even to reach Shiva consciousness, is that transcendence of all these states, knowing that God, even if we want to look at the Trinity of the Godhead as a way of looking at the three gunas. We have Brahma, we have Vishnu, and we have Rudra. Now they say Shiva is Rudra, but Shiva is really the transcendence of all of these, or the Mahadev, or that consciousness that understands all parts as one whole. But we could say Shiva as well as, so we have Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and Shiva, the destroyer, Rudra, the destroyer. And then if you even look at the word God, G-O-D, this is generation, operation, and destruction, showing us that God is an embodiment of all of these qualities. Even, again, Lalita Tripura Sundari, she is this embodiment of all three forms of being and the transcendence thereof. That is the state to say neither of these is better than the other, or higher or lower than the other. It's just different frames of consciousness that we can experience in this life. And when we strive in that upward ascent, we also have to be able to come back into our embodiment, that it's a dance of Shiva and Shakti. To overstand, as the Rastafaris would say, would be to see from that over perspective that all of these qualities are necessary. And as we begin to embody them, as we begin to live a more yogic lifestyle, we tend to want that sattvic purity. We want that devotion. We want our offerings to be pure. We want our body temple to resonate in purity. But don't deny any of these aspects, is all I'm saying, as they're all part of the one source. They're all part of the one creation. So hope this video could be helpful for anyone that is interested in those subjects, that may have some understanding, that may feel even trapped in tamas at times, especially, like I said, in the holiday season with relatives and everyone just feeding here, eat this stuff, and the junk foods and stuff like that. So this is a video of encouragement, that you find that discipline, you find that abundance in your heart to say no even to certain things, and to do your best around it, or to, if you do eat some of those things, learn to balance them. Go on a bit of a fruit fast. Maybe just eat some fruits for a day, or for the first few hours of the day, drink some juice and some fruit. Have something of that sattvic quality on an empty stomach, so you can really embody the energy, and then go and meditate, do your yoga, and then go to the party and the family thing, and eat as you will. Be free in that. Be free in all of your levels of expression. If anything I want to share on this channel is that you should be free in all aspects of your expression, and all humans should have that experience. All spiritual beings should have that experience of being embodied, to experience different states of consciousness, different levels of awareness, and the three gunas as well, and understanding that even times you will need these energies, these so-called lower energies, but that there is a purity to them when we can bring that purity into all of our being. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications bell for future videos. You can also check out the links in my description. Join our community over on Patreon, where we have bi-weekly meditation circles for Kundalini awakening, and you can also sign up for weekly yoga classes tailored to you from yours truly, and I will help you on your own practice get these things into perspective, as well as give you these deeper insights into lifestyle, into a bit of Ayurveda, and a bit of Tantra to get you understanding how holistic of a system yoga is. I know people see yoga stretches online and they think that's what yoga is about. I'm here to tell you it's only maybe a 5%, 10% of the importance of yoga. Getting here and sitting, this is the whole reason you do stretches, to be able to sit like this, to be comfortable and sattvic, instead of, if you watch most people when they try to meditate, they're shaking, rajas, or they're scratching their head, tamas. You want to be able to come to the state of sattva so you can enjoy your meditation, so you can enjoy your seat, the whole purpose of asana. So we offer these things to you here. Make sure you hit some of the links in the description. Check out our music channel as well for some of that enlightening, healing music and some of that raja, some of that fire to get you going as well out of those lower states of tamas. And remember, always do it with love, do it with service to the divine, and all things are divine. My love to you. Many blessings in this holiday season. Om Namah Shivaya. Jai Kali Ma. In Yeshua's name, blessings. Namaste. Namaste.